Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of In Conversation With. And this episode, we are absolutely delighted to be joined by someone who's not even in the UK. Teresa Powell is based in California, and she's one of the first of the psychologically alert members of APA to take part in an In Conversation With. So, without further ado, Teresa, welcome. How's things there? How's your day going?
My day is going pretty good. Pretty good. Other than the smoke that's going on out here because of the fires, everything is going good.
Okay, so just so everybody knows, we're not expecting that fire to reach you anytime in the next hour or so.
No.
We're not under that kind of imminent threat. This isn't a kind of news broadcast from the front of the fire.
No. I'm 2 hours away from the fire, so no, I don't expect it to reach here, but you never know. But I don't expect. I expect this to be a pretty hot, talk, but not due to the fire.
That's cool. So one of the things that kind of really excites me about the conversation today is getting to understand more about the coaching element and the work that you're doing, because I know you've got some really exciting news coming up. And I thought that being able to show what coaching is like stateside might give people a broader understanding of how coaching works, not just here in the UK, but stateside too. So before we get there, let's give people a bit of a rundown on your background, your history, and how you got to being in that chair there in Sacramento.
Okay. So a little bit about me is I've done 6 years of this type of work, but in the corporate world. So I worked with families, kind of like giving them back that family dynamic. I worked closely right along with CPS, which is Child Protective Service here in the United States. And so basically how these families come to us is their cases are not threatenable where CPS has to step in, but if CPS gets a call, they evaluate it. And then if we could be beneficial to them to be able to give them techniques and tools, that's their piece of being able to send them to us. And we would be able to come in, show these families some tools, ways to do things to bring that family dynamic back in. And the whole goal is to not return back to CPS. So I did that again for 6 years for a company called Birth and Beyond. And at the time when I started, the program was only geared to either pregnant moms or 0 to 5 years old. So over the time being, they realized that they needed more than just 0 to 5, because sometimes you start getting into those, higher elementary and junior high, and the kids are going through some things, sometimes unfortunate things happen, like maybe the parents, become homeless. So then they need our services because then maybe we need to help them find placements and stuff like that. So because obviously here in the United States, you can't have your child out there in the streets, and that be okay, because that's kind of not going to fly. Yeah. And they need to be in a solid situation. So having us there to be able to provide services, maybe there might be a child that's struggling with learning disabilities and they're in our program, and that's where we could be able to come in and just kind of help them navigate that by maybe providing them a family advocate, So the services are there built to help them be able to deal with whatever family dynamics it need be. And sometimes it starts off maybe because of a situation that brought them to CPS, but this is an opportunity for them to be able to take advantage and be able to get whatever other services that they need help with. And so
sense there of preventative work to avoid CPS intervention, if at all possible.
correct.
And as the service grew and developed and understood that actually 0 to 5 is great, but the flashpoints can come after that point. And if we're going to have preventative measures to take the pressure off CPS, then we need to have those preventative measures at the flashpoints rather than just it's a new parent.
Right.
Okay. And that ties really nicely to what APA's put together in its social care evaluation guidance, is that preventative work is done while the evaluation is going on. So if you can avoid an intervention, you avoid the intervention rather than having a family fail evaluation in order to get that support.
Right.
How do you feel that the engagement with families, or the level of engagement with families works when you're going in with a preventative or a support system like that?
So I'm going to be honest with you. When you're coming into a lot of these families that have been passed on, well, first let me bring it back a little bit. So even though most of my cases were, through CPS, I also had volunteer families that just they were new parents, and maybe they wanted more education, more tools on how to maybe deal with their toddler or how to handle their baby. So those are always the ones that are not resistant. But when you're coming in on a parent that has come through CPS, you have to build a trust with them because they're already angry. Mm-hmm. And so when someone's angry, they put those walls up, and you just got to build that trust where it starts to break the walls down, because you want to find out too, as that individual coming in, giving them preventive services, you want to find out what is it and why are you having these occurrences with CPS, because some of the women I met, a lot of the things that they were doing that was bringing me through was things that they had saw growing up. So it stemmed from that root of what I call it generational curse. My grandma did it, my mom did it, so it's okay, because no one's ever told me that it's not okay. So like I said, that normally with someone who's coming through as a CPS case, those can be sometimes your most challenging. I'm not going to say hard, but they are your challenging ones, because you've got to break through a lot of the emotions going on with them. Yeah. Not being happy that now I've got someone in my home, someone that's coming out here on a weekly basis. I don't want to deal with this. I'm already frustrated with my situation that I'm in, and then now I have one more extra person coming in, along with the fact that I have a social worker now with CPS, and now I've got this lady coming in, oh my God, and I don't want all these people in my house, and
That's ultimately that fear of intervention, isn't it?
Right.
And you as you say, you worked with that environment for 6 years, and you're now about to kind of go solo.
Yes.
And let's hear a bit about that transition before we get to the solo bit, because I'm really excited and I want to get to that. But I also know we need to kind of let people get to know that transition from family support environment to where you're going doesn't happen overnight, does it?
No. it took me a minute to get here, because even after I left doing that for 6 years, I went into the insurance company where I was in customer service. Uh, I hated being in customer service, not the people. I really loved when customers called in, because that was the way I could help them in some type of degree. And um, before I went into insurance, I had no clue about how insurance worked. So I was so clueless. And so when I learned getting these calls for people, and I would listen to some of my colleagues, which would really upset me sometimes, because it only takes a few minutes to explain to people, because they don't know what we know, because we're on the other end. So we know this. We've been trained to understand this. So it's our job to help them understand what they have. And I love doing that. Sometimes it broke my heart because people were in plans that they had no business being in. Their life changed because one day they woke up and now I went from being healthy to maybe someone who has cancer. And then I've been stuck in this plan that doesn't give me options, And so having to be able to explain to them what they were in and kind of what they were fooled to get in made them lose their benefits. And so, I would do everything that I could to explain to them what they have, what I can provide for temporary, but you're going to have to maybe find another doctor through here. And then when your year is up, we can get you back into this insurance, And so it's just educating. And I love educating people in that way. And I take that moment where at times I'm out and about and someone who's working, they might get snappy, and I have to remind them that, this is your opportunity to educate someone and not get upset with someone, because we don't know how the things work in the background for you guys. So always take that moment to educate someone and not get frustrated with them. And I get it. I was there. I'm guilty. I used to do that. And now I realize, don't get mad, educate a person, because they don't have an idea of what's going on your end. They don't know how that runs.
Yeah. It's almost like, you've had all of that kind of crisis family support system learning, that when you go into the corporate world, it's like, hold on, we've got all of the information. We're the ones that hold all of this. We don't share this with somebody unless we have to, but when we have to be able to do it in such a way that they can understand it. We've had it over and over and over, but it's that responsiveness and that empathy of the person, or to the person on the receiving end, that I think certainly in the conversations you and I have had over the last year or so has always kind of stood out to me. And in coaching sessions that we've had, it's always been about that process of taking your knowledge, your understanding, and making it available, but also making it digestible. Sometimes it's not edible. Sometimes it's not the nicest information that we have to give people.
Right.
But delivering in such a way that it can at least be digested and understood. And nobody has to enjoy being told, no, actually, you know what, this plan that you're on isn't actually fit for purpose now. But there is so much we can do. There are some things we can't do, but we can play around with this if we can spend some time and look at it and talk. And I think that's something that when we explore the whole customer service arena, it's one of the bits that kind of goes missing sometimes. That ability just to talk about what is needed and then act, rather than act and then talk about why we acted the way we did.
Right.
So we've got family support. We've had real crisis, real fear management experience. We've had service and within the insurance sector and that direct contact when things have gone wrong, to a fully fledged coach.
Yes.
Out of those three roles that you've had, which would you say you have enjoyed the most?
I enjoyed all. I honestly, I have enjoyed all. And and the reason I say that is because I believe that each and every role I've had has been a purpose. It has definitely been a purpose. And I've learned a lot.
Mm.
And it was only all of these roles that I've been in, was only a preparation for the journey that I was going on to become a coach. Because I get to bring all my tools and techniques that I've learned from each situation. Kind of going back to when I was doing the home visitation for the 6 years, not only did I come in the home and my clients learned from me, I also learned from them. You know, majority of my clients, as I shared with you, were low income.
Mm-hmm.
So I was from the other side of the tracks. So that's where I learned about empathy, because I didn't know what empathy was before that. That wasn't something that was actually taught in my home.
Yeah.
And so being able to put myself into someone else's shoe, I might not agree with you, but in order for me to hear what you had to say, I had to put myself in your shoes and just like get an idea of why you think this way or how you see and view things. And so that was important. So that area taught me empathy. That is something we need, period. People in general need that, because we miss the concept of understanding people. And sometimes that's where we're closed-minded by, because we don't have empathy enough to understand and hear what other people, we have opinions before we have understandings.
Yeah. And that's something I want us to come to in a bit. But now as a coach, now as your own self-aware and accredited, and one of the first of the US members of APA, you're ready to launch. You're ready to kind of go, here it is. So let us know, come on, what is happening, when's it happening, and where can people kind of get to know more?
Okay, so I'm launching my 10-week breakthrough program. And as of October 1st, which is coming up really soon, this Thursday, I'm really super excited because I have played around with this for a whole year and trying to decide how I wanted to do this. I had individuals I tested this with, and just having these testers really helped me out a lot, because it gave me the ideal of, man, I want to turn my PowerPoints into an e-learning course service. So I'm really excited about that. I created my workbook that will go with your weekly videos that you have to watch. I'm really excited about this. Totally excited about what we've got to do, and I'm totally excited about, you know, helping individuals, you know, to discover and revamp and build on just all the positive things that they want to see happen in their lives. And so I'm really excited about doing that. And you can find out more about me and my business. You can go to www.surrenderthemindlifecoach.com, and that's where you will find more information out on that. So I'm really excited. I am really excited.
I've watched this project grow from the very first conversation you and I had, even before you came on board with APA, and seeing the development and the growth of any program. It is like seeing a newborn child be created. It's phenomenal. And for me, the best part of the journey that I've been on with you throughout this has been seeing how the connectivity of all of the components that you have learned over your time outside of coaching has really shaped that essence that this program puts out. And I think it's phenomenal. I know I use the word a lot, but I only use it when it really does apply.
Right.
And it's that connectivity that you've managed to take all of the things that you were doing in presentation, bringing it into a learning environment, taking all of the craft that you've learned over the years and really mold it into something that is an effective tool for other people. And it's been beautiful to watch, and I am, as if not, I probably can't be more excited than you, but I'm definitely up there with you. I can remember what that journey's like to bring your very first big product to market, and it's absolutely brilliant, and I wish you absolutely every success. You know that.
Thank you.
So we have Surrender the Mind.
Mm-hmm.
We have 10-week program.
Right.
What is your biggest hope for the 10-week program?
My biggest hope is that I'll start getting some clients, and we start to work on working with them in areas that they are needing. And so that is the biggest thing, is the compliment is also what they get out of it during their journey.
I mean, when we spoke about the program a few weeks ago, and I was itching to kind of go and talk about it and everything else, and I know I can't. Everything has to stay quiet. But it's that whole part of those contact points where it's making sure that progress is appreciated. It's about understanding that as you move forward, you can lose sight that you've actually moved forward.
Right.
And I think one of the things that you've done exceptionally well is make sure that journey is appreciated as you go down it. It's not a case of get to the end of 10 weeks and look back and go, well, you're that much further away than you were 10 weeks ago. It is appreciating the journey as you go.
Right. And the good thing that I didn't mention either, even though it's a 10-week breakthrough program, that's the 10 weeks is the extensive piece of it, but there's an aftercare afterwards.
Yeah.
And that is 4 months additional to the 10 weeks. And that's when you'll drop down and you'll see me just twice a month. I didn't want to throw people out there like, okay, you're done with the 10 weeks. Good luck. No, you need an aftercare piece where we're transitioning you out there and looking at, some of the tools that you're using and seeing how effective they are in your life.
Mm.
And so that's how I wanted to design this. So you would really be with me truly for 6 months. It's just the intensive piece is in the first 10 weeks, because that's where you'll be seeing me weekly.
Mm.
So
and this is the idea of aftercare is something that has been around in the coaching arena for a while. It hasn't really kind of been promoted. Certainly UK side hasn't really been promoted. It is very much program based, timeline, etc.
right.
But stateside aftercare is something that is absolutely massive, isn't it?
Right, it is. And just in the social work world, excuse me, it is. it is very, very important, you know, and I know me and you've had conversations just even with the foster care, how important it is to have that transitioning for those that are leaving and becoming adults out of the foster care. I think that applies pretty much in a lot of places as that transitional time, you
Yeah.
know, getting them prepared for whatever. If you're leaving this program and the program is becoming done, we need to get into that transitional piece of it. So we're transitioning you correctly.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is we can give people as many skills as they can carry. But once they're out and they're not there with us to kind of go, right, which tool should I be using for this situation? They, a lot of people will go, I've got this tool, but does it apply here? And sometimes, just sometimes, having somebody that you can reach out to a couple of times a month and go, I'm trying this tool that I know that I've got, but it's not getting me the result. And it's like, okay, try tweaking it this way. Try looking at it this way. And really using the skill of the coach to take that person further forward than just, as you say, here is a program, thank you very much, and off you go. And I think it's something that the UK sector can really learn from. Just the idea of having that aftercare is phenomenal. So 1st of October, program goes live, and everything is in place, everything has been tested, everything has gone to breaking point and brought back again. And what does the 2nd of October look like for you?
The 2nd of October, busy. That's what I want to say.
And
Busy, positive, and moving along.
And that is the point, isn't it? We see so many coaches who go full fanfare, launch program, everything else, and the day after it, nothing's happening because the work hasn't gone in beforehand to make sure what happens after the launch. It's like they run. Linford Christie used to say, if you're going to run 100 meters, you run 101 meters. That way you will go through the tape. Do not run to the tape. And we have both seen coaches come and go who literally run to the tape and never go through, never run into what happens after launch. And they will inevitably struggle. But you've done that. You've gone through that. Here is everything for launch. Here is everything for after launch. Here is everything for beyond that. And that's phenomenal for me as a coach, supporting a coach to actually go, do you know what? I don't have to have that conversation. It's already there. The mindset's already in. And I think it's been fabulous working on kind of the interactions that you and I have had over the last few months in this kind of final phase. What would you say to anybody watching this that is contemplating taking support?
So when we say taking support, are we saying taking support from me or taking support from people in general?
Taking support from you.
Okay. So what I would say to an individual who is taking support from me, I would basically say, you know, if you are looking to build with things in your life, come on over to me, because I would love to have you work on some of those skills with some of the sessions that I offer, and especially in the breakthrough program. And then we could just basically go from there and see what it is that you're wanting to work on. And I also want to bring this up too, as making sure that my program is right for you. because that's very important, because I don't want you to be in here and then maybe it's somewhere else that you need to be working on.
Yeah.
So that's very important to me for potential, clients to know, that is making sure that you are comfortable, and then this program is for you, because not every program is for somebody, and I don't want people to feel like they're being forced to be into something, so that's a very important piece.
And those conversations around evaluating the right person for the program, because there is that kind of natural dropout when people feel as though this program isn't working for me because that evaluation hasn't been done at the beginning, and coaches then go, well, is it me, is it the program? No, it just wasn't the right fit at that time. But the evaluation process that allows somebody to know this is the program that's going to work, or these are the components within the program that are going to work strongest, allows you then to kind of really work with somebody that has got that in place already. So someone says, right, I'm ready to take this on. I'm ready to look at the things that I want to achieve, look at the things that maybe are kind of holding me back, and they make that call. You take them through the process of the evaluation and make sure that they're on the right package, and you start working. What would you say is the one thing that most, or a lot of people that you have coached, kind of come up against when they first go into that coaching relationship?
Okay, glad you brought that up. So, and this is something I see straight across the board, is when I was testing my program out with the 3 individuals last year. At that time, I hadn't even made it a complete program. It was just either you wanted to do self-awareness or you wanted to do personal development. So of course, everybody wanted to stay away from self-awareness and they wanted to go straight to personal development. And in personal development, once we got to 3rd session, I don't care which one of my testers, when we got to that 3rd session, mind shifting was very hard for them. That's also what I learned when I was doing my home visitation for 6 years. It's mind shifting. Is people are comfortable where they at because it's less work, because they've been doing it this way. Mm-hmm. So when you have to start talking about changing how you do things, that's difficult for people. And again, I'm guilty for that as well. It's just comfortable, feels good.
Conversations too, miss.
It's just like wearing pajamas. You're comfortable. You don't want to go get dressed and get in clothes. And that's kind of the same way. And so I realized with those 3 individuals, we sat down and we talked. And I said, we should have done self-awareness, because we couldn't even get to personal development. And that's the thing that I think people need to understand. You can't get to personal development until you have become aware with who you are. And so that just helped me restructure this whole program. And like, I'm going to make this a 10 weeks. We're going to start looking at mind shifting, self-awareness, inner self, self-esteem, confidence, and then we'll move into, setting goals and success, because none of that can even begin to, move forward. And I'm all about, when I talk about you have to build a foundation, you have to almost build a foundation with everything, and you have to build a solid foundation. I've never seen a house be built from the house down. It's always built from the ground up. And you have to have a solid, foundation. And it's almost like the Three Little Pigs. That last one couldn't really get blown down that way because the way he built the solid foundation.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing about with individual, is changing that mindset, because once you can start changing that mindset, then you can start looking at all the steps that you need to take to get here.
And that's the thing that, you know, we, like you say, we get comfortable.
Yes.
And a lot of that comfortability comes from the information that we are given from a young age about the way the world is. And invariably that information has come from people who are comfortable about the information that they were given when they were at a young age by people who were comfortable about the information that they were. And it's this whole generational flow of information that says, this is the way the world is, this is the way you need to interact with the world around you, and as long as you do this, you will be safe.
Right.
And we've both seen how over the last 3.5, 4 years, those concepts have been challenged almost every single day without fail, right across the planet. And in the last, certainly in the last year, it has escalated to a global proportion.
Right.
When I started coaching in the States, it was, in my mind, it was an easy ask. Here is a system that's going to allow people to grow from the inside out. Now it's a different ball game, and there's very much that hold on to that comfort of what somebody knows, rather than explore the things that they don't.
Right.
Do you find, looking into the States, you're sat right in the middle of it, that the world environment, pandemic, political, financial, the whole shooting match has collided in such a way that fear and anger that has been fed down generation after generation after generation is now erupting in such a way that it's actually condensing that fear and anger?
I don't think that it's condensing it, but I think with all of those things that have come into place, I think we're on a more rise with things, and where people thought and they didn't want to deal with it before because it wasn't as apparent as it is now, because now, like, we think of the word pandemic, there's that scare, and more people are dealing with depression and anxiety and all other things that might be coming apparent now that probably has always been there. And they use the tucking it in to now it's like, I don't know what to do. We've got all these different things that are happening all at once. And then we've been put on these restrictions. And as you guys kind of heard me share with you, how a week of me being gone to Oklahoma and this time being alone, I began to experience some anxiety after a couple days because I wasn't having any human interaction. And so think of the individual who doesn't know how to channel all of that, and all of this, just the whole world just shut down. And so now they've lost their job. They don't know how they're going to eat. They don't know how they're going to take care of their family. They're not used to this. They don't have social interactions the way that they would like to have it, that they were having before. So all of these things bring in the anxiety and issues and problems that develop more into, mental health issues. And so I don't really necessarily see it as maybe condensed. I see that it's like a teapot
Mm-hmm.
that once it hits its boiling point, it's exploding. And some people don't know how to handle it. So some people are taking their lives,
Mm-hmm.
and then some people maybe are reaching out and getting the help that they can get. And some people are just like drawn into a serious depression because they don't know how to channel all of this.
Yeah. Do you think that the coaching arena has a collective part to play in kind of channeling the energy around what to do when that kind of, even before it's a case of, okay, now I'm depressed about all of these factors. Now I'm anxious about all of these different factors, where coaching can play a part in alleviating some of those before it becomes problems?
I would like to say yes, but in the United States, you don't hear a lot about coaching. What you do hear about is counseling and therapy, which I am such a big person and advocate for that.
Mm-hmm.
You do need somebody to channel and help you channel that. And so I'm hoping that if we can get to coaching, maybe that might be the first best step for an individual. And then as they're going through that time of coaching, if there is anything that is extensive coming out of this, we'll be able to partner up with therapists and counselors and be able to refer them over. Because I also think that as a coach, if you're not trained in that area and that's not your expertise, we need to really get them over to that.
Yeah.
So,
and that's vital. And I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because we certainly see coaching, therapy, and counselling as three parts of a triangle, and that triangle can move around depending on what is needed for that client. And coaching can open the door that allows a client to acknowledge the need for therapy or counselling, and counseling and therapy can open the door to coaching as a client becomes more comfortable about the processing of the experiences that they've had. And it's that working in a triad that can make a real difference to clients. But each point, each corner of the triangle, if you like, is a getting on point for a client.
yeah.
And it's about the professional being able to evaluate where that client best sits at that moment in time, rather than going, well, no, you're a coaching client, I need to hold on to you, or no, you're a therapy client, so I need to hold on to you here. It's about understanding what is in the best interest for that client and having that network in place. And it's very much what we're seeing with the work that we're doing with other professionals stateside, is starting to build that network of psychologists, therapists, counselors, psychiatrists, and now bringing coaches in and having that whole system work together. And it's phenomenal to see coaches coming forward that have that mindset, and I congratulate you for it. Hand over fist every time we speak. I'm glad you are.
I think we have such a great conversation because I really feel like we think alike, especially in a lot of areas. And I always come to you like, oh my goodness, Dave, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And I love when you say, well, before you mentioned that, I was, we were on the track of that.
Yeah. And this is the thing is, you're launching in a few days your first big program. And within that, as you say, there are feeder programs, there are evaluations, there are a whole heap of things that go along with that. This isn't just, hey, Teresa's turned up with a new program. There's a lot of work that goes on around that and keeps that supported. But the fact that with the support from the therapeutic community, the coaching community within APA, you've actually been able to probably do more an awful lot quicker than you might have been able to do solo. Is that fair?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, because when you're in the corporate world, I mean, my cases are all already vetted and given to us, you know? So this is going to be different because now I've got to make a household name for myself. Um, I've got to really get out here and market myself so
Mhm.
people know who I am, what I do, what I offer, how long I've been doing this, you know? They've got to understand, I guess, my whys. And, you know, the fact that I want to help people. I thoroughly really enjoy helping people. And I thoroughly enjoy not just only helping people, but not so much always looking at the problem, but also looking at what's the solution.
And that is the key in coaching, isn't it? That
Yeah.
you can have a whole range of solutions that a client can then start to guide themselves towards a set solution. But
Right.
there is no concrete path. It is a case of we aim for this, and as things grow and as skills develop, that may not be the solution that you want to aim to. We can move it. We can change. Because the future hasn't been written yet.
Right.
So whatever the goal is can only fit in the reality of the future that becomes, not in an estimated future that may or may not exist when
Right.
you've achieved all of those skills and those learning. And that flexibility for me is one of the beauties of really good coaching, is that you're not going, here is a set path, we are going to this point, and the world best be there when we get there the way we want it to be, because invariably
Right.
it's not. What would you say is the most fun you have coaching?
The most fun that I have coaching um, is just learning about people. You know, that's one of the most fun things, is just being able to learn from people. Um, and the other piece is what the individuals get out of it during our journey. Not so much afterwards, but during the journey. Because just being able to see clients be like, that aha moment.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
Right. Like, this is, oh my goodness, this is what I should have been doing, or oh my goodness, this is great.
Mm,
I just got it, you know.
yeah.
So
And it is vital to reiterate, I think, that at no point does a coach try and therapize or counsel.
right.
And as soon as they do, invariably the relationship will go sour. Invariably, the pathway just slips away underneath the individual. Even those professionals who are qualified therapists or counselors don't coach the same therapeutic client.
Hmm.
You can't transition one into the other. About, it's not interchangeable. It would never work. And I think that's something that is very key in my mind in the coaching sector.
And I think that's important. Like you said, that is very, very important that people understand. I guess that's that piece where people say, stay in your lane. But it's very important. And I came across a post one time, and someone put that question up. Would you, if you came across a client that was having some things that you felt that maybe they needed to be more over to a therapist or a counselor? And I really came across some of the coaches, and I was really outdone that a lot of them was saying, well, I would be able to help, but you really wouldn't. because sometimes you have to be careful about when you open up that Pandora box.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be ready to have those tools in place. And those tools, those are not our tools. Those tools where we have to be able to pass that on. And a lot of times, like you said earlier, sometimes people have that's mine. I don't want to let that person go. They're mine. But you know what? You're forgetting that it's about the individual and not about you.
Yeah. And this comes down to that phrase that you used earlier. It's that self-awareness about the client is what's important here. Mm-hmm. And no matter how bad the economic situation is out in there, in the big bad world, we know what's going on with the pandemic. We know the fear and anxiety is rising at rates, faster than Vesuvius's volcano. It's just non-stop at the moment.
Right.
But in my mind, I still see a place for coaching. Mm-hmm. And I see it as part of the preventative skill set and the kind of tools for resilience, that if coaching can be brought into the environment before somebody is in crisis, before those triggers have opened up the historic Pandora's box, as you say, the resilience that somebody can have from really good non-directional coaching means that when they do hit those hurdles, they don't hurt as much.
Right.
But two, they're already open to the concept of working with somebody when there is a problem.
Right.
And that means that you can really build a network of therapists, of counselor, of coach, so that you are all working together. And as a team, your client now knows that, they're not in that boxing ring called the world with just you in their corner.
Right.
They've got an entire team in their corner for when they need it. And that changes the whole perception of resilience, because you can take on more of the world when you know you've got all of that behind you. Right. All it takes is to pick up that phone and go, okay, now I need X. And that then allows the team to work with that individual. And it's something that I love the way Apple works in that respect, is it allows that somebody to move around the psychologically alert members, the qualified accredited members, but also that the members that are in training are seeing this system.
Right.
So as professionals come out into the world, qualified, ready to go, they've already got a different focus on how the team works for a client. And I saw that first in the States, and I know as time has gone on, that has shifted, and the focus has become more down to the clinical psychological kind of engagement. But the support network, I think, really has a part to play. And I think what you've put together in doing that is a phenomenal kickstart. It really is. So as the world moves through pandemic, and we see all of the awakening and all of that eruption, the explosion of the teapot, as you put it, on things that previously people would have tolerated, would have accepted, that now, no, sorry, not putting up with this. This has got to stop, and it stops yesterday. And the fear and anger of that explosion. Do you think that 2021 is going to be a better year emotionally for people, or do you think we're in for much of the same?
So as far as that, I can't really tell you if 2021 will be better emotionally for people. But what I will say is 2021, or let's just even just come back, 2020 has taught us a lot.
Mm.
There's been good, positive, and negative out of this whole pandemic. But what this pandemic did is it also showed and brought to light that we've been living in a world for now a while that's been fast paced. No, a family, I'm older. So, and I remember a time when families would get together and eat dinner together. TVs were off. There wasn't electronics because we didn't have all these electronics. We had the standard telephone that was on the wall or sitting next to the nightstand. So you didn't have all of that. And so family dynamics was important. And we had time for each other, you know, and we had time to go see grandma. We had time to spend time with the family, which being here today and seeing when I go out to dinner, a whole family's on their phone at dinner instead of enjoying that time together. And so I think too, this gave that awareness to people how important we need to get back to family, because when that was cut off, you never know what you have until you don't have it. And that's what happened when people couldn't go and see family, couldn't go and see. I mean, I heard a gentleman saying, normally I'd go back and visit my parents, you know, twice or 3 times a year. And I didn't get a chance to visit them this year because of the whole pandemic wouldn't allow me to go in there. They didn't feel safe with anyone coming into the home. And so it made you rethink about how important those things are when you don't have them, when they're taken away from you. So I think on that end, that was a positive piece for people who are comfortable and we don't want to change. But if you don't make those changes, you're going to be left behind. So, you know, some people who've been doing things certain ways in their businesses and their business had to actually change. And they're like, okay, what do I do? Not thinking, well, let's get on board and make some changes, because I kind of know we talked about this in some of the trainings you did. They were stuck. They were stuck because they weren't willing to exercise their mind. But this pandemic was like, you're going to either look at other skills that you might have to bring into your company.
I mean, I said right at the beginning, I think as far back as February, any pandemic that, and bearing in mind February, we weren't in lockdowns, we weren't,
right.
You know, it was still very new, still trying to work out what this is going to be. But I'd said something that this is Mother Nature's opportunity to ground the teenagers, send us to our rooms and clean house while we are in our rooms, right? And then by April, when we were in lockdown, we saw pollution levels drop. We saw sea quality and ocean quality improve.
Yes.
We saw air quality. Mother Nature had grounded us and started cleaning house. And then in August, when it was like, no, we've had enough of this now. We don't like being in our room. We want to go out. We started kind of pushing the boundaries around the world. We started pushing the boundaries and kind of going, no, we're going out. We're not going to wear masks. We're not this. We're not that. It's this. It's that. And we found every excuse, like a teenager going, I want my phone.
Yep.
And the scary thing is, like a good parent, when they ground a child and the child kicks off and wants to go out and everything else, The good parent goes, no, stop, go back to your room, and now you can stay there for a little bit longer.
Right.
Till you've got over this anxiety of being in your room, right? Mother Nature looks like she's going to be doing the same. It's going to be a harder lockdown. It's going to be a longer lockdown. It's going to have more controls put on it, simply because as human beings, the majority of us can go, yeah, okay, grounded. We've messed up the planet. Thank you very much. We'll take the punishment. We'll get sat down. Everything will be fine once Mother Nature sorted it all out.
Right.
But those of us who aren't used to being grounded, aren't used to being told what to do, aren't used to this idea that actually when we need to do something, it's not because somebody else wants us to, it's because we need to. And therefore we have to bite a bullet, take the medicine, sit down, shut up, get on with it. We can get through it.
Right.
One of the things that strikes me that's missing, and I'm sure there are epidemiologists and there are cognitive behavioral professionals who will kind of weigh in on whether this is right or wrong. Whenever our populations have been contained, positivity can grow from it. When we are given things that we can do within that framework. When we're not given things to do, we sit there, twiddle our thumbs, no idea what to do. We get destructive.
Yes. Yeah.
We look for reasons to justify that destructive urge. And what we've seen this year is no direction of what we can do within containment, and therefore an urge to destroy, because that's what human beings, when they don't know what to do, destroy. We don't know what to do with aliens, shoot them out the sky. We don't know what to do with this, break it. That's human nature. And we haven't harnessed the cognitive and psychological awareness that we all have. Give somebody something to do and they will not go down that path.
And it goes back to what you said, you know, in this pandemic, I guess it's not so much about looking at what 2021 looks like, as what did you learn out of that? What did you discover about yourself?
That's going to be the key, don't you think? That if we can actually focus on that and the self-awareness that comes from that, then 2021 can be phenomenal.
There you go. Because then you go into 2021 with different changes, different mindset. Okay, I learned this about me. Now, and especially if I have kids, now I understand where their behavior comes in. I'm actually a reflection of my child, you know, but anyway, you know, all jokes to the side, you'll be able to go in thinking differently, doing things differently, and
changing the outcome.
Yeah, and mind shifting. You know,
and that's self-awareness, isn't it? Self-awareness is going to be the crucial factor in the last quarter of this year. If we can get to a point where that self-awareness comes to the fore and is harnessed, there's no point in having it and not doing anything with it. If you can actually harness that self-awareness, we cannot change the world around us, but we can change how we interact with it. Right. And that self-awareness allows us to do that. And this is where I think coaching has really got its greatest opportunity. But the therapeutic community has just as much power in this moment as well.
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And when you have them all, all of it together, it is dynamic,
Mm.
and it's about helping the individual, center within themselves, because we as the human beings, we tend to want to change everybody else, but we never want to change us.
Yeah.
You can't control no one else. The only person you can control is yourself. And so once we help them learn how to do within their reach,
Mm-hmm.
um, things will turn around better, because you cannot control and think for others. And that's why we get frustrated when people don't listen to us, is because that is not our job. Our job can be to plant a suggestion,
Mm-hmm.
possibly water it and watch it grow. And you might water it and it might not grow, and maybe somebody else comes along and waters it and it grows. The thing is, it's not your job to try to change them. That's where you're getting frustrated at.
Yep.
You're only supposed to be within your reach, and that's you.
Yeah. And the best part of that is when we develop that self-awareness, when we develop that understanding and that acceptance,
Right.
other people react to that impact. It's like it sends a different ripple out into the world, and the people around us go, oh, that's different. And they don't treat you the same way anymore because they're getting a different energy off of you.
Right.
And that impacts on them. And then hopefully it feeds into them developing their awareness. Invariably, that has to be supported in order for them to get there. But you've now got the self-awareness to go, this is why it's different, because I've got this. And you've got it inside you. You're just not looking at it at the moment.
Right.
Get them looking at it. All of a sudden now we've got two beings working with self-awareness, and so on and so forth and so forth. And it is, for APA, it is why self-awareness is the crucial factor. You went through the accreditation process to become a psychologically alert member. That self-awareness conversation is exactly the same for absolutely everybody that comes on board. What would you say to anybody that's kind of contemplating that process?
Of coming on board?
Yeah.
I would tell them definitely come on board. I personally like it, and I've shared you guys with quite a few people who's either looking to go into this line of work,
Mm-hmm.
or have even shared with me that they're going to school for therapists or their master program or whatever. And I definitely share this program with them because, I come from a background where, having that opportunity to collaborate with others. And just want to say one thing real quick. So I encourage all coaches that are just doing the open program of APA to really get you connected with therapists and clinicians and all that stuff, because you're going to really need them. You really are going to need them. Bouncing off your ideals, or just the fact of having someone you can go to and maybe have to refer out to. It's just an important piece, because this is not about you. This, at the end of the day, the center of this whole dynamic is the client. Mm-hmm. And so we want to make sure that the client trusts us, and trust is all about putting a lot into our hands. And so we want to make sure that we deliver what we say that we're delivering to them, and handing over when it needs to be handed over. They can appreciate you at the greatest if you're honest with them. Yeah. So, but I'm always telling people to come over and have a collaborative team to have there for you, to support you. Because I think that's a huge piece too. Who better understands us is those that have some type of relationship to what we're doing.
Mm.
And that's a huge piece. That's like me coming to somebody who's a cook, but we don't have, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We don't have that understand. So they can't relate to me because I'm not talking about food, or I can't relate to them because maybe I'm not talking about a client in that sense.
Mm.
And so it's just having a group of people who we have a relationship, we relate, and being able to have that around us. I think this is what I like, because that's kind of like when I mentioned to you about the MRTs with my first doing the home visitation, just having that big team at the table, knowing I had support all the way around. Like, I had to present a family, and here I have a psychiatrist at the table, I have a family advocate, I have my supervisor, a nurse. You have them all at the table, and everybody has a piece that they can contribute to whatever the needs are. And that's what I like about that, because that's what we have here too.
Mm.
You know?
And I think the whole approach, that collaborative balance that
Mm-hmm.
the APA membership really does bring. There are social workers, there are family support workers, there are therapeutic professionals with 1 year experience, there are therapeutic professionals with over 20 years experience, there are coaches that have just become coaches, there are coaches that have been around for nearly 20 years. There are, the support network that's within the organization is phenomenal. But having that open platform where anybody who has an interest in psychology can engage with professionals right across the board, can ask those questions, can build those things up in such a way that they can respond to their client. Like you say, it's dynamic. Mm-hmm. And it gives that professional at the sharp end, in the moment with the client, the knowledge that they've got that team behind them. Right. And it's a bit like Rocky going in to the ring, knowing that he's got absolutely every piece of kit, everything else behind him that he needs to go into that ring. Or does he go in there solo? And no one wants to go into the ring solo. Yeah, no matter how good you are, no matter how resilient you are never going to be as good as you can be if you don't have that team behind you.
Right.
And, I am exceedingly grateful for the work that you've done stateside on promoting APA and sharing with colleagues and peers the way the network and the service works. And it is very much a service. And we both, Siobhan, myself, the core team, the amazing support network that's around that team is able to make sure that we can respond. And it's as humbling as possible to describe when we get the feedback that we do, and the request to be introduced to other professionals overseas is phenomenal. So thank you for that. So before we wrap up, what would you like to see the future of coaching move to?
What I would like to see coaching move to, I would like to see, as we have shared, is just working together with other sectors, such as, with the clinician therapists, social workers. I think we've also talked about seeing more of a tighter place where we're focusing more on the clients and not more on the business side of things, you know. So and that's kind of what I'm seeing in the States now, where we're more focused on the business piece of it, how many people we can get through the program. That's not going to help the situation. You know, I want to see more of how do we keep people from coming and being repeated, which I'm just going to use the word repeated offenders is what I'm going to use. You know, so
it is that, in essence, it's that short-sighted, let's get as many people through the doors as we can. We'll throw a whole heap of information at them, get them out the doors, get the next batch in, only the information that you've given them has flown past them just as quick as they've gone past you. So you've got information going that way and people going that way. And
right.
they only catch a glimpse of what it is that you've tried to give them.
Right.
And as you say, slow things down, make it about quality, make it about getting the information into those that need it, that want it. Those that don't want it are going to be more difficult anyway.
Right.
But when they are able to see why that information is being given to them and how it is being given to them, has an impact on how they receive it. So if they don't want the information and the information is being thrown at them at 90 miles an hour, they're not going to catch it.
No, they're not.
Why would they?
Not going to catch it at all.
So why use a system that you know doesn't work for the person that you need it to work for?
Right.
It doesn't make sense. You're setting yourself up to fail. You're also setting up the client to fail.
Right. We have to not see them as numbers, and that's the thing. We can't see them as assembly line. We can't see them as numbers. We have to see them as a human being, and we have to see that we want to really see that this is working for them. We want their best interest at hand. But like you said, we can't force someone to, you know, have or take in any of the information we want if they don't want it. We can't force feed it to them. But we also cannot put ourselves out there to make them look like a number, because I know numbers look good on the business side. But
they don't look good when
it's
the same number keep coming back in because something didn't go right the first time. Let's get it right. Let's not make it right. Let's work in a way that uses the principles of the discipline that we are delivering.
Yes.
If we use the principles that we're delivering to build the business will succeed. If you try selling therapeutic practice, coaching, nurturing, support as a financial, selling apples, you ain't gonna sell much.
Right.
Because they ain't buying that.
Right.
So let's look at working it in such a way that we stick to the principles of the discipline that we're using, and people come to that. So it's so much simpler.
Yes, so much. Let's
simpler.
provide solutions.
English sounded very English, didn't it? To all my American colleagues, I terribly apologize for sounding so very English. To everyone else, I hope you're still smiling. I know we are. Teresa, it's been absolutely fabulous. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me on.
I've been saying for months that we will get there, and it was just about the timing. And I think just before you launch is about the right time. It really is. I really do wish you well. I know the team at APA do, and I am really confident in the package that you've put together. It really is. It works really well, and I think some of those kind of development stages that you went through to make sure that you had the right evaluation, so the right program for the right person at the right time. Makes absolute sense. Brilliant program, really is. So if anyone has watched this, and thank you first off, you can get a CPD certificate if you feel this video has been valuable to you. All you need to do is fill out the CPD questionnaire, which is on the APA website, get that in, and that validates the CPD certificate. You get that. APA members, those certificates are free, and for non-APA members, it's just the administration charge of the certificate. You are not paying for a huge amount for watching what is, in essence, just two people having a great conversation. Hopefully you guys benefited from it. Hopefully we'll see you on one of the other episodes. But for now, thank you very much and take care.
Thank you. Have a great day.